Hi guys, I'm Leandro Giorni. I'm from Argentina. This is my first video especially recorded for SRS, just for the paint shop forum. So the idea here is that everybody just go painting on just the diffuse channel. The skin texture, the base one, and sometimes the car could use another texture that the game already uses, but I don't know if nobody knew about it. I guess that's one of the possibilities, but maybe someone didn't understand how it works. So what I'm going to try to explain how you can make use of that new texture to add additional appealing or additional uniqueness to your painting, right? So basically, what I want to explain here is in the standard way, when you skin a car, you have the skin base, or whatever the name it is in every mod, could be different. This texture is just plain color, and you have applied over it the ambient occlusion. So when you have the ambient occlusion applied to it, it's just baked, and you have color and a little bit of shadowing. But you can use this information, or you can base this information and specifically use another texture that in every mod is different naming. So I'm gonna show how to check which name it is using, which name file it is using in each mod. Is easy to check, but when you know about it, you can use it to make distinctive reflections and specular in your car. So that will make the car, like, I don't know if beautiful or not, it's just subjective, but it's gonna be different for sure. It's not gonna be the same reflection all over the car. You can specifically specify the amount of reflection and how specifically the roughness of the material. So if it's blurrier or not. So this is the map. In the case of the tattoos mod, the file has a specular SPC naming convention, so it's really clear that it's managing the specular component of the reflection. But not every mod use this name. So what I want to show you is how you can know which map to use to alter and to make the specific adjustment, right? So this is a really weird kind of color configuration, but in short, maybe you will understand how it works. Here you have the asset manager. So it's a great tool. You have to use it. The first thing you need to do is go to the about. I click several times here. It's like in the version. Now I already activated, but if you click here in version very few times, there's gonna be a new window that says the developer mode is active. So you have to say OK. And now you can go to content, search for the car you want. In this case, I'm gonna show the tattoos that we made for our team. And you have to showroom, And here is going to be very, very clear what I mean about using that texture, that new texture. What you notice about here is that the car is not all shiny as one thing, right? So what I have here is that the car behaves like there are some parts that are more reflective than others. The specular highlights, this one is softer than this one. These two are similar, but the reflection here is blurrier, and the black is almost non-existent. It's really subtle. So, and this one, that is like the kind of a gold imitation, looks pretty nice, right? This is not the best environment to check, but for sure, we have the lighting hitting really directly here, so it's really evident, right? That this is really reflective and the black one is not, right? So what I have here is the use of the diffuse, the base skin, and the new map that I painted especially for that kind of behavior here, right? So how do you know which one is the texture you have to modify, right? So, well, if you double click on a part of the car, you can see here what's the name of the material and all the maps that it uses, right? Diffuse is skin base. That's the typical template you have. You have to name it like this when you export it as DTS. And there's another map that is the TX maps. That this one is the one that we need to check how the name is, right? And we can check how is the default one. The default one is like an information that surrounds all the car almost in the same way. So you have almost the same reflection all over the car. And that's okay. But sometimes you need or you want to be specific, right? Or you want to be like unique, like the cars now in F1 that are roughness, that they use a general painting with a lot of roughness, so you have almost no reflection, pretty blurry one. Or you can have the standard one that is quite reflective. So it's up to you now. It's not exclusively from the mod. You have the power to alter it, right? So I'm gonna change the car to the Corvette. This is the other one that I painted using the similar kind of template because it's from a team. So we use almost the same kind of style. But when I open it, and you see that it's the same situation here. You have the black that is almost non-existent reflection. And these two are similar, but it's not exactly the same. Obviously, this is not a render, so some of the reflection is going to be not as blurry as you have in a real render, right? But in real time, it's going to do a pretty good job. But you have not that much of subtle detail in the reflections as you can in a real render, offline render, not a real-time one. But nonetheless, it's quite noticeable, right? So what I want to show you is that the map is not the same name. So you have to be careful, but you can know which one you have to alter, right? So I I choose the base of the car, and now I see that the body, this is the name of the material, this is the name of the texture is using for the body, and these TX maps is called body maps. It's not specs like the other one, right? So sometimes you say, well, okay, a body is the base for many of the mods around there. So you say, you see a body DDS and you say, okay, or base skin DDS, and you say, okay, this is the painting. It's almost like a standard feature. But when you have to look at this specular reflective map, the name can vary a lot. So you have to be careful to see which one you have to modify. And in this case, the standard one is all green. It's really different from the other one. But, well, it's the map that they used for the one that created the mod for the reflection, right? So in this case, we can, for example, use this texture and export it, right? Or we can use our currently painted map, the base map, this one that you can have in Photoshop, right? And use this to pass information to the game. I'm gonna show you just a brief example of it, right? But nonetheless, it's gonna be a really good example, I think, that you can check. So first of all, we have to make sure we have the PSD open, skin base. So I'm gonna show you how you can alter this one. And you can, for example, use a base color, white color. I don't care. So you have to use the DDS exporter, right? I'm gonna modify this. Well, I'm gonna create a new one, a new template. This is testing. I don't want this SRS skin updater to change mine. It doesn't matter. So I have to change this. What I have to change is the skin base. So I changed that. Now that I change it, it's gonna be white, obviously. What I want to point out is that this kind of map, the diffuse map, the color one, doesn't need alpha channel. So the best option is to go to BC1, no alpha. So you're gonna be reducing one channel, so it's gonna be quite inexpensive in the amount of weight of the file. I mean, in this case, yeah. In my case, this is a problem because I have it 4K, right? So 50%. Yeah, just test. So I don't know why it's taking so long. Generally it's pretty fast, but well, when you're recording and you're trying to make someone know what you're doing, it's gonna sometimes fail a little bit. So, well, you have to save as again. DDS, point to the right direction, right? Replace it. So in this case, no alpha, and now the file is 2.5 megs, so it's pretty good. And the other one is almost the same weight because it doesn't use also alpha channel. The only one that in this case that I have here that use alpha channel is the helmet glass, none of the others. So the only one that I exported with alpha is this one. So I reduces a lot of file size with exporting only RGB. Well, so the other thing that we need here is that if I open Tatus again, is probably that I'm gonna change the color, right? To the other 7, should be another 7, this one, or this one, that is white. But you immediately notice something, right? Well, yeah, you can notice that there is some information here. You can see the 7 pretty clearly, the shell logo absent here, I mean. My name, my last name, Logitech here, the other 7 here. You see that the reflection is working, right? It's a white car, but now it's kind of gray. The reflection is interesting. It's not amazing, but it's interesting because if we have the default, it will look like absolutely garbage. I mean, like it's really standard. It's not going to be, for example, if I delete this file, look at this, quite standard, boring, like kind of super defined reflections and what can I say? It's okay, but it's all cars will look like this, right? So you can specify where you want amount of reflection, more, less, right? So basically you have a few options, but it's not quite simple, right? Because you have a new map that I want to open. And I'm going to show you that it's not that simple. And you have to know that when I have this information, I have specifically some colors variations here. But what I notice, right, is that if I have plain black, I'm gonna reduce this to almost 50%. It's gonna take a lot. I hope it's not that long, but and I'm gonna show you how the color defines kind of the behavior in the reflections, right? So what I have here is a plain black material. DDS, export it where it should. The name is correct. I have to put it like that. Make sure, I don't know why, sometimes I have a problem with that window not appearing sometimes on the front, but well. Yes. Okay, replace it. Same, no alpha, save it. And when you notice this is no reflection at all. Black, pitch black, is no reflection at all. Nothing. Not even in any angle, right? You see that there's no any reflection at all. So what I'm gonna show you is how you kind of control it. I'm not 100% sure about this because I was testing and it's not like real render, offline render, where you have absolutely control and the result is very specific. Here you have some peculiarities with the result because I don't know, you can make it very glossy, you can make it rough, but the subtleties about the Fresnel effect, like if it's the incident of the reflection is very in all the material, like almost the same amount, or you have like more reflection in the center, or I mean in the glazing viewing angle, and less in the outside, or inversely, or you have like highlights pretty high, or reflection that is very, very subtle. So you have like that amount of behaviors that you can manage, but it's not quite simple to achieve, right? So what I always do to change this, because I have like some kind of base work here, is that what I have is channel, right? In this case, I will delete, and I have RGB, right? Because what would you know, right? I put everything blue, right? So you have no, the base is okay. I have to. Well, you have blue. What does blue mean? Well, here you will see it. That blue means reflection. But blurry reflections, right? You see here, there's not this, how much blurry it is, right? Like it's reflecting, but it's really not defined, the reflection. So if I put it in like 0, it's gonna be black, obviously, because every one of these is in additional, right? Because as you know, if you have every of these 100% of pure red, pure green, and pure blue, RGB, the sum of all makes white, right? So in this case, what I have is pure red, 80%, in this case 40% green, and 100% blue, because we were testing blue. So blue was 100%. So pure blue will make the car reflective but glossy. So it's really interesting because the amount of reflection is quite considerable, but it's blurry. So if we add green, what we will have here, it's not that much of a change, as I recall. I mean, but what you have now is no more no more blurry reflections, right? It's quite a lot of reflection, pure reflection, right? And the amount of reflection is, if I only put green, will be almost the same. No. You will see that what it makes here is that you have black, right? It's strange, but where it should be reflection is black, almost. It's quite different, right? It's obscuring. That is because I think the green is what it's making the car Fresnel effect, right? Like it's making how much reflection is added to the Fresnel effect. So 100% is a lot, and you can, for example, use less, like 20%. It's almost non-existent, right? It's not like it's reflective or not. Maybe I'm not quite sure if this is like it's metallic, but green for me is like it's metallic or it's not, kind of, right? It's reflecting or it's not reflecting. But if you put it 100%, it overrides the 100% on this one, on the blue. So I'm not quite sure what it means. The red, I'm quite sure, is the power of the reflection. It's the amount of light it receives and reflects. Okay, more of what it reflects, but basically. So what you can do in this case, if you want to have blurry reflections, you have to play with both. Because with this one, you have like blurry, but subtle reflections. And with this one, if I put it like 30%, it's not like a real offline render where you have really the mixing of the two, because we have a blur reflection, and blurry reflection is like the combination of maps, right? So in my case, what I say is how much reflection it has is the green one. How glossy it is the blue one. And how much power or how much light it reflects, or how shiny it is the red one. So red one, only red one. I turn off the other ones. Here you can see what I mean. Notice it's quite like emissive color here. This is the glare effect. In the post effect, you have a glare effect that it's a glow in every shiny surface, right? So this is quite nice because you can combine all together. So, for example, if I have this is the gold kind of this dorado in Spanish is gold kind of color. So or coating. So in this case, if I apply only that, it will not have it will not have the color, because our base mesh is like white, pure white. But what what I mean is that if you see, you can see that here the way it shines is quite different with this surface, right? This surface is black, and this one is an RGB that I choose to paint with the amount of color that I was testing and looked or give the impression that it's like a rough kind of low specular but really shiny surface. So paint it with the correct color, it gives the illusion of like a gold kind of material, right? So basically with this, what you can do is, for example, in this case I want to turn this off, and you can for example, I don't have the UVs here. That's something that I can solve quite fast. Wireframe, and just moving the wireframe here. So what I can do is like go in here to my template folder when I have RGB all 100%. Well, the green is not 100%, but remember, if green is 100%, it overrides the glossiness of the blue. So blue almost have no impact. It will have a little bit of impact, almost none, because in real-time shading, you are mixing two textures, a reflection that is normal and a reflection that is blurred. You are not calculating the mixing, right? You are just blending between those. So it won't have, this will be put over this one. So for this to mix, you have to have the green not 100%, and you can play with the amount of blue you want. Blue is gonna be the glossiness, right? How rough or not is the surface. This one is the amount of reflection, like the power of reflection is like the Fresnel effect. It will highlight a little bit more of the reflection in every angle or less, right? And this one is the amount of light reflected from the surface. The only problem that is if you have a metallic one, so this one, everything you paint here is gonna look plastic kind of, because the electric materials, right, the one that are metallic kind of, the reflection is tinted in a way with the same kind of color of the diffuse, for that to give the impression that it's metal, right? But in this case you can't, because the only thing you can do is mix the amount, the power of, but you can change the color. So in this case you can you are limited, right? Limited to a plastic kind of behavior, but it gives you a really interesting look. Can give you a really interesting look. What I do is, like, if I choose some material, for example, I don't know, in this one I'm gonna do not 100% of red. I'm gonna be 80%. I don't know why it's 0. It's 80. A little bit of reflection, 50, and the blue, 100%. Well, let's try that. But what I want is, I want to do a mask and try to only apply it, right, on an area that I know that I want. Wireframe. Why I'm not seeing? Oh, here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint it completely black, or not. I don't know why it's not painting everything black. Why not? This is strange. Okay. Yeah. So I changed to white and I let this color be applied in, I don't know, L and L here because Leandro, of course. And this is the number 2. In this case, should be from the other way around. So I hide the DDS wireframe. Goodbye. Put it like this, and we see what do we have. Well, we have something that is quite interesting because it's reflecting a lot of light. It's not subtle. It has reflection, but it's not that high compared to the standard one, right? Because the standard one would be like 100% green, and this case it's not. And if you want to have like really glossy, you have to make your green really low. Like I'm not sure if you have to do it pretty low or just 0. I guess pretty low because I used it in another one, and yeah, pretty low. Now it's glossy because I have 100% blue. And that's it, folks. It's like with this you can take the extra step, but for sure your car will look quite distinctive, right? I don't know if it's gonna look good or not. That's something that is really subjective, but for sure it's gonna look different. It's gonna look more like you took a little bit more of time to an effort for it, so it's gonna be better, I think. Well, that's it. Any comment or whatever, I'm always available. You can send me a message in this post, or you can message me by messaging the forum. So, well, see you there, and good luck with your paintings, right? Bye-bye.